Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs. Welcome to episode 123. A negative circumstance can be your biggest blessing. Before I get into this episode, I just want to let all of you know that my mediumship mentoring programs, my online programs, are up and ready to go. We start the first week of October. So if you would like to join either the beginners mediumship mentoring program or the next level program, then go to lindsaymarino.com. I only take 10 students per program, and this is the last mentoring group that I'm going to take before the end of the year. Okay, so let's get into this episode. This episode was a moment where you can really go through negative circumstances and learn how to find the golden nuggets in each situation. So Tony and I actually talk about personal experiences and share ways that you can take those moments of negative circumstances and really flip them in a different way after you go through the pain. Hi guys, welcome back. We're so excited that you're here. Today's episode is all about how a negative circumstance can be your biggest blessing. And we were laughing just before we started this episode because of something just happening outside of our window, right?
Right. So this whole episode, yes, we'll get to that in one second. This whole episode makes me think of what Wayne Dyer would talk about all the time. When you have an orange, when you squeeze the orange, what comes out of it? Orange juice. So any negative circumstance that you have or that I go through or Lindsay goes through, it's going to press us. It's going to poke at us. It's going to cause things that are already within us to come out. And a lot of times I find in my experience, I don't like some of the things that come out when I'm pressed. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if I'm able to just relax, feel the moment, I'm able to see, whoa, that energy was inside of me, because that's what happens. Just like that orange, when you squeeze it, that orange juice comes out because orange juice is inside of it.
Right. And I think that's something to think about. And one of the things that I think about too is when you go through that negative circumstance, you're not thinking that in the moment. It's usually when you're in the middle of it, you're feeling the adrenaline rush, you're feeling frustrated, aggravated, angry, sad, heartbroken, whatever the emotion is. But it's when you go through it, then you start to recognize that lesson that you mentioned.
Exactly. It's not like every time the negative circumstance happens, it's like, okay, I feel it and I see. It's not like it happens all in 2 seconds. It takes time. Sometimes it takes a week. Sometimes it takes a day.
Or months or a year.
But it makes me think about what you were talking about right before we started to record this. Mm-hmm. We had a group of people that wanted to have a conversation right outside of our window. And I think we have like an overhang on our townhouse. I think they were actually underneath our overhang. We could hear them as if they were in our room. Yeah. Right as we were about ready to start recording. So negative circumstance.
We're like, is this really happening? We got everything adjusted for our camera stuff, got the lighting ready, and then all of a sudden they appear just before we press record. So at first it was really frustrating. I'm like, is this really happening right now? And then we started laughing, and I started to think about the meme. There's a meme going around about landscapers. So if you're trying to make a video, it's like they just magically appear right before you make the video or the audio. So it did add some humor before we started this episode, but we thought the blessing in the frustration and aggravation is sometimes you just need to keep on moving. So we're like, you know what? We're going to press play. And they were already kind of backing away. They could come back, so we may hear them in a little bit.
Right. And I'll be honest, I would have been annoyed probably still a lot longer at least if I didn't realize the name of this episode that we're doing. And then when I realized the name of the episode, all of a sudden this calmness came over me as if it was supposed to happen, which I believe it was.
Gave us more content to speak about.
And it slowed me down too, because one, I paid attention to the name of the episode. Two, I was like, all right, what am I learning here? What's happening here? And what I got right away. And I found that's what's powerful is when you ask the powerful question like that. what am I learning here? Why is this happening to me?
Yeah, that's a good one.
What am I supposed to learn from this? I realize, Tony, just slow down. That's what this is. Slow down and just laugh at the situation. And thankfully, Lindsay and I, we did that pretty quickly on this situation. It doesn't always happen like this. Sometimes, like I said, they'll drag on.
Usually Tony wants me to get over the negative situation quickly, and he's like, okay, can we move on? I'm like, no. So that may happen if you're, I know a lot of couples watch this podcast episode, so there are moments that things come up where you want to rush it, and then other times it goes back and forth. Like, I want him to get through whatever he's going through. I'm like, can we move on now? But it doesn't work that way. It really depends on who you are and what the situation is and how you are moving through it. Nobody can force you to move faster.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing to recognize, that we're going to have negative circumstances come up. I mean, this is life. It's going to happen. But it's what we take from those later once we move through that pain that's important.
Exactly. Everybody has a processing period. So I think it's important to know your significant other's processing period and your own. And your friends, anybody you're around. It's good to pay attention to them, because that way you know to give people their space. So like I said at the beginning of this episode, when you squeeze an orange juice comes out. Well, that's one of the blessings of a negative circumstance too, is not only does what is inside of you comes out, but what is inside of other people around you, that comes out too. And what I found in my situations is a lot of times I'm finding red flags with people that are around me. I'm like, oh, that's how they were really feeling.
Yeah.
Or that's how they think about this situation or that situation. And it's not to judge people. It's really just to have this awareness so you could put these strong boundaries in, because when all hell breaks loose, that's when you find out who's really on your side.
That's true. And you always say, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so easy to try to find the good in everyone. And deep down, there's good in everyone. But there's a difference between finding the good in everyone and also letting people walk all over you. And I think there's a fine line between that. So I think that kind of goes along with the negative circumstances, because sometimes people show you themselves the first time and you can kind of brush it off. Like, oh, it's no big deal. Then it happens again. Okay, this is just a little mistake. And then there's a third time, and then you're like, whoa, this is waking me up. Like,
exactly.
Sometimes it needs to be something so big that it rewires your brain to think, what am I accepting into my energy field right now? How am I responding to things? And also, why am I attracting this to me? I know that happened to me this year, where I had negative situations come up and I experienced a lot of pain. I went through a lot of pain. And from that was learning, but it was not overnight. And it's always a process. And when you're going through that, sometimes you can't see clearly, It's like when you go past that and you start to see the lessons and the blessings in it. So if you think about what's currently going on in our world right now, there's a lot of, and I'm putting in quotes, negativity, because there's stuff happening that we can take as just negativity and that's it. There's no lessons or blessings, but we can switch it and think, what is the blessing in what's going on right now?
Right, because there always is that blessing in everything, in the positive situations and the negative situations. We've done several podcast episodes about that specific topic, how in both life is both made of negativity and positivity, so we need to embrace that fully. Just like we are humans and we're also spirits, it's so valuable to embrace the human side of ourselves, because we have flaws. We do things that upset ourselves. We have emotions, and we all have glasses on, to where sometimes our glasses, we're not seeing clearly. So when the blind spots do come up over time and the negative circumstances start to pop up, I think it's so valuable to be gentle with yourself, one, to be gentle with the people around you too. So like I said, the smoke signals will start to come up. When all hell breaks loose, you'll see who the leaders are, you'll see who the people that are on your side, you'll see truth. And I think that's why negativity does happen a lot, is it's God or the universe's way to unravel truth.
Yeah, it exposes truth. That's such a good point. And I think if we come back to the truth, I think so many people are afraid to speak up and share truth that causes a lot of the problems, actually. I noticed that. So the truth will come out always, no matter what the situation is. It's going to naturally come up, and that's where the in quotes, negativity comes out. But really, it's clarity, which clarity brings so much more beauty to any situation also.
Exactly. So that's why it's so valuable to embrace this negativity, because it does bring clarity if you allow it to happen.
Yeah.
If you don't allow it to happen, it actually creates more fog over time, because you're resisting that change. You're resisting what the universe or God is trying to put into your life. Because if you are currently in a negative situation, it's in your life for a reason. Mm-hmm. It's trying to tell you something. It's educating you. It's God, the universe, mm-hmm. giving you signals, giving you different cues on, hey, maybe to go this way, or maybe to go away from that person, and to have space to where you could have more space for higher quality people, or people that resonate more with where you're trying to go. So it reminds me of like when a hurricane comes through, a lot of times it brings devastation, it brings death, but at the same time, it brings actually the community closer together. So if we could relax and ground ourselves enough to embrace all of the emotions, the negativity, all of the situations, I think we can start to extract the gold that's inside of everything, and we can start to build more valuable relationships with people, with ourselves, and have a much more fulfilling life in the process.
Yeah, it's true. It shifts everything when we can focus on those pieces. And the one thing that I feel like brings value too is when you're having these negative situations, it's really easy to focus in on that. But sometimes it's almost like you have to, when you daydream and at the corner of your eye, you can see something in your view, at the corner of your eye, and it's in the background. Sometimes we have to glance away from what's happening and start to focus on, like, what is going on that's good in my life right now? What am I feeling in gratitude about right now? And trying to use those situations so that we amplify those situations too, even while we're going through the negative situations.
And that's another huge point with the processing period, is giving yourself enough time to be able to do that. Because mm-hmm. when you have these negative situations that are really intense, or even the positive situations, like we just got back from the Psychic Medium retreat.
Oh my God, that was
such a valuable, positive experience. When you have these intense, high energy experiences, whether they're negative or positive, what I found in my experience is, just like coming off the retreat, I had to give myself a week of just coming back down, letting these emotions process, even though it was a positive situation. So for sure, when you have negative situations, it's so valuable to not just act on all of your emotions. It's so valuable to take time, whether it's a week or 1 month. You have to figure out what is best for you, and to take that time to allow the dust to settle, to allow these emotions to settle, so you can therefore make a rational decision. Because I know in my life, I've made a lot of irrational decisions, a lot of decisions that I've regretted when I made them when I was highly emotional, whether it was positive or negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something to think about too. And when you just brought up the Psychic Medium retreat, I thought of a lot of mediums that are listening to this episode, and psychics. And sometimes when people go and develop their mediumship or develop their intuition, whatever it may be, they are joining because there's moments in their life that have come up where they have a spiritual awakening, or they're going through a difficult time, but they feel drawn to do this during those moments. Sometimes they're giving readings and they're feeling like, this isn't satisfying me anymore. I feel like I need to go deeper, and there's some frustration there and self-judgment. So they actually find the blessing in this process of being aware of, I know I can do better, or I know I need to be nicer to myself, and I need to find a community to come to. So this is something that kind of encompassing mediumship, those people that are listening, when you do have those rough moments, you seek out resources sometimes, or you go inward and you allow your intuition to lead you down the roads that you're meant to go. And listen to that call when that comes in, because a lot of the times our intuition, all of the time, our intuition is working in our favor. So we just need to take that silent time to feel and hear and experience where we're meant to be led too.
Exactly, because just for psychic mediums, like say you have a bad reading and like you were saying, all of a sudden this becomes a negative circumstance to where you're like, oh, I had a bad reading, and you feel so down on yourself, like maybe I don't want to be a medium, or why did I ever think that I wanted to do that? I think that's a valuable point to just pause and reflect, and then understand that, like we always talk about, it's always a process. It's like you have athletes to where they have good games, bad games, but they're still professionals.
Right.
They're still athletes, and I think to have that mindset along with accountability, which is why I love all your mentor groups and everything that you have, because it's so important, just like with athletes or any professional, to have those coaches, to have those leaders that are there for you, because it is tough. Like life is negative, it's positive. Sometimes we all feel so low that we don't think that we could get out of that hole, or we feel like we're lost, even though the next day we're found again. So I think it's important to surround yourself around people that bring you up, because the negative circumstances, whether it's a bad reading or people coming to your window right before you record a podcast, or if it's something more dramatic like people passing away in your life, there's always gold to extract, and it's always so valuable to have a great support system around you.
Share with us any insights that you have from this podcast episode. We love hearing from you, and we'll see you next time. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.
We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.